We're still waiting for Ethan.
刘斌，
Yeah.
OK，你是用的咱们校友会这个 Zoom 登录的吗？
我是用我自己的个人登录。
哦，那为什么他老是把我登出去？现在我如果是 host，anyway 呢？对，
Co-host. I think Zhao Jun says co-host. You're the host, right?
因为我是用的赵军这个 account 登进的。
Okay.
所以，但是我刚才开始了那个 live stream，然后 claim host，过一会儿他就
So you
跑
need
了
to
登出。
start the video. I can add it into the spotlight. Otherwise, I cannot add it to spotlight. Joseph, let me add you to spotlight. Joseph. Okay. Joseph is here. Let me also add Jennifer. Okay, 你好。Have 8 minutes to start. So I already try to adjust your videos and the camera, the size. You can adjust a little bit, just fit into the middle of the screen.
你出来吧，姐姐，你快点，妈妈给你拿了小凳子可以坐啊。
我坐在这里。
你好，或者春梅，你那个我帮你变 co-host 啊，你们帮我看一下这个刚刚登录的朋友们，有一些人他可能会不知道 unmute，所以你看到谁说话的话，帮他 mute。
就1个小时，他们那个哥哥姐姐们说他们怎么申请大学这件事情。好，下来吧。
刘军师说那个 Jessica，你要帮他 spotlight 一下。哎，
你好，你可以 add 几个人，add 文佳 to co-host，add 文佳 as co-host，他这样可以做一些 unmute，你帮助我做unmute。春梅也可以这样子，
Can someone bring Jessica to spotlight?
Okay, I will do that. Yeah, she was not on open
那
the win.
右边我把我的关掉吧，这样子你要不 extra spot。
Jessica Law. We're still waiting the Ethan, right? Ethan is there yet to come.
呃，还是我给你发的链接，你现在马上就要开始了，你可以听一下。 还是啊，你要不要下来跟我一块儿听听？
关注生活，让自己变得快乐，放弃执着，坚持就会变得不错。每次走过都是一次收获，还等什么做对的选择？过去的就让它过去吧，别管那是一个玩笑还是谎话。路在脚下，其实并不复杂，只要记得你是你呀。
你要不要酸奶饭？要泡了
这个我一会儿
关注生活，让自己变得快乐，放弃执着，坚持就会变得不同。每次走过都是一次收获，还等什么做对的选择？过去的就让它过去吧，别管那是一个玩笑还是谎话。路在脚下，其实并不复杂，只要记得你是你呀。
各位朋友，大家好，欢迎大家来到浙江大学校友会大华湖地区求是论坛第18期，教育论坛第6期讲坛。我的名字我是浙江大学大华湖校友会常务副会长刘斌欢迎大家的参与。浙江大学大华湖校友会求是论坛，它定期举办帮助我们这个校友朋友们专业交流，包括亲子教育等公益的讲座。 今天呢，我们非常有幸请来了6位优秀的高中毕业生，他们通过自己高中生活的杰出的成就取得了自己的梦想的这个高校他们在百忙之中抽出了时间给学弟学妹们以及家长们分享他们在高中生活中的成功经验，以及在大学申请中的这个有些这个重要的这个成功的这个分享我相信他们的分享会给很多的这个正在学习正在有远大理想为自己的这个理想而奋斗的这个在职的学弟学妹们带来了很多的这个收益和启迪在讲座过程中间呢，请大家保持静音这个讲座以后呢，我们会请6位小嘉宾们作为 panelist 会回答我们这个学生的问题你们在听讲的过程中间有什么问题呢？先写下来也可以在我们这个讲座的 chat 里面写下你的问题。讲座结束以后呢，分享以后呢，我们会有这个2位学生的嘉宾给我们主持这个 Q&A session。作为家长呢，我们也有这些优秀高中生的这个家长们 online如果有家长的问题呢，我们也欢迎你们提出来。好我们这个在讲座开始前呢，我们请浙江大学校友会副会长张哲要给我们大家宣读一下求是论坛的免责声明。
各位家长、各位同学，大家好，我是浙大校友会的张哲。像往常一样，我来读一下我们的免责声明。欢迎大家参加由大华府浙江大学校友会主办的求是论坛，这是我们校友会的常规活动之一。求是论坛旨在为大家提供一个信息交流及探讨的平台。对于每期论坛内容，声明如下。求是论坛内容及所有参与者的言行仅代表其个人观点和思想。大华府浙江大学校友会不为论坛参与者分享的任何内容和言行负责。求是论坛是非营利性活动，大华府浙江大学校友会及其组织人员与论坛邀请的嘉宾不存在任何利益关系。感谢大家的支持和参与，感谢嘉宾前来分享和传播知识，谢谢。
好，谢谢张哲会长。下面呢，我们非常有幸请来了我们马里兰亚裔委员会AAPR 的 Commissioner 和浙江大学校友基金会主席浙江大学前任会长、荣誉会长吕平博士他正在中国出差也准时上线给大家分享一下对我们这个大华府这个教育论坛的他的这个给大家给予我们的这个致辞欢迎吕平会长、吕博士。
谢谢刘斌。大家晚上好我这里是早上非常感谢6位嘉宾、小嘉宾，还有我们华府青年的2位小主持人来主持今天的浙江大学求是教育论坛第6期教育论坛。我非常开心，真的，教育是大家最关心的问题，特别是我们华裔我很高兴我们孩子们都能愿意出来分享。我也很开心浙江大学校友会教育基金会能够支持这个论坛。浙江大学教育基金会呢它是成立于去年，应该说从前年开始筹备我很开心，我们是一个501c 树立的组织。那么我们的基金主要是来自校友会和朋友们的捐款。我们的基金呢也是支持我们的教育论坛和校友朋友们的各种活动。我希望大家多来支持这个基金会，来支持我们的多捐款宣传让我们基金会可以有更多的资金来支持我们浙江大学校友会的各项活动，包括今天这个这么重要的教育论坛。希望大家能得到有些东西。今天也非常感谢我们所有的义工，希望大家度过一个美好的夜晚。谢谢大家。
谢谢吕博士、吕会长那我们就是正式开始嘉宾的分享我把这个 slide share 一下 参加我分享的是我们的这二代的这个高中生洪杰芳他在这个graduated from Wooden High School. By the way, 我们will from now on we'll start to switch to English since all the high schoolers and our distinguished guests they are more comfortable speak English, and our audience, student audience especially, they probably feel more comfortable in English. So let's switch to English. Our first speaker is Hong Jie Fang. Hong Jing graduated from Thomas Wooden High School. He accepted to Cornell University. So I will let Hong Jing to introduce him a little bit and share his great experience and tips as a outstanding high school student life. Hong Jing, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Hanjin. As I was introduced, I was a senior at Thomas Wooden High School, and it's a pleasure for me to be able to speak here today. It's an honor. So I want to start off my speech by telling a very classic Chinese story called Xiao Ma Guoke, the little horse trying to cross a river. The story goes, a little horse is trying to fulfill his duties that his mom has given to him. To fulfill his duty, he has to cross a river. And obviously the little horse never done so by himself before. And he went around to ask for advice from many other animals. And one of the animals that he asked was the squirrel, who said that crossing the river is probably the most arduous journey that one can undertake. And when he asked the old cow said it was a piece of cake. At the end of the day, the little horse was confused and was too scared to cross the river and was not able to achieve his goal and help out his mom. What I'm trying to tell you is that you have to be able to block out your distractions and not be like this little horse. And right here, I was going to tell you about all my stats and all my extracurriculars, but the truth is you can find thousands or even thousands of these examples online. And me sharing another example will not really help out. Instead, will probably make the process even more stressful for you and make you even more afraid. Understand that to many of you juniors or sophomores, that the college application process seems very uncontrollable and it could be really stressful. And here right now today, I want to be here the first one to tell you that you should stop looking at other people, because during your process, you'll be seeing a lot more people who are getting to many other colleges, and that things can become even more stressful. And I want to tell you to block out those distractions and be a better person than yourself from yesterday, and do your best. And I can promise you that your results will not disappoint. So I also want to talk about my personal opinion of this college application and just colleges in general. The way I see colleges is most of them, they act like a company. For example, Harvard is not so different from the popular big companies that we know, such as Nike. Just like Nike, where Nike recruits or sponsors a lot of very distinguished and successful athletes like Michael Jordan or Cristiano Ronaldo, Harvard has many presidents as their alumni. The reason why these companies do this is because they want to portray an image that only if you go to Harvard or only if you wear Nike, you can become successful. And this is basically their business motto. And what I'm trying to say is, you don't need to go to Harvard or wear Nike to be successful. For example, Usain Bolt when he grew up, he didn't have any Adidas or Nike to wear, yet he still became the fastest man in the world. And that means that even if you haven't achieved or got into the college that you wish you got in, or even if you haven't gotten any good college, doesn't mean that you won't be successful. It just means that maybe right now is not the time, and maybe
boy and girl.
maybe Harvard doesn't see your potential, or any of your good college doesn't see your potential. So at the end of the day, I want you to stay true to yourself and be the best you can. And besides that, there's two mentalities I want you to keep in mind when you apply to colleges, two things that I think are most important when you are writing your essays or portraying an image of yourself, making up your own story. The first one is that how can the college that you're applying to benefit you? How do you fit into their community? How does the programs in the school help you achieve the person you want to be? And the second thing I want you to keep in mind is how can you benefit this college? And this goes back to the corporation example I mentioned earlier. Essentially, these colleges, they want you to be able to make them look better and be able to get more successful people to their college and create a really good environment. So you want to demonstrate your not only that you will benefit from this college, but once you graduate from this college, that you will make the college look good and that you will show that this college can produce successful people. And my last advice is that I want you to enjoy your time in high school, and because this is a very memorable part of your life, and that you don't really have much time left, and being able to spend your time with friends every day is pretty rare. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hongjin.
Right. Thank you, Hongjin, for your sharing, and congratulations again for achieving such a significant milestone in your academic journey. And I hope your future 4 years in Cornell will help you achieve your personal goal as well. The next guest, let me introduce to you, is an outstanding young lady who has great passion for science, technology, and engineering. Catherine Chu. Catherine is graduating from Winston Churchill High School, and she is accepted to many prestigious universities such as Caltech, UC Berkeley, and UPenn. And she will embark on her next chapter at Caltech this fall. Catherine, please start your sharing when you are ready.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really thankful for this opportunity to speak. So like I was introduced, I'm going into Caltech for mechanical engineering. And from my quote at the bottom, it can kind of be a good intro of what I want to talk about and what I kind of learned from the whole college application process is just that passion is really more important than anything throughout your high school life and your college and beyond. And I think that's also a big takeaway I got from the college application process. So coming into high school, I really didn't know anything about colleges or the college application process. And to be honest, I didn't know much until the fall of my senior year. And I think it's not to say that I didn't know much, but it's just that throughout my high school experience, I didn't focus as much on how to please colleges, I guess, as a lot of students I know are pressured to. And rather, I focused on things that made me happy and things that I enjoyed. And as a result, I was able to exceed in those things. And that created a very cohesive story that I was able to illustrate in my college application, which I think is a very important thing. And colleges, like Hongjin said, they're like companies. They know how to recruit people, and they're very good at reading applicants into seeing how genuine and how honest they are in their applications. So I think it's really important in your application to focus on what makes you you and what makes you unique. And I know that's very cliche and sometimes very hard to really dig deep within yourself to find what makes you unique, but just really spend a lot of time brainstorming on that and think about what you're most proud of yourself for and what you have seen your own self develop throughout the past 4 years of your high school experience. And that has helped me a lot, especially in the writing of the personal essay, which is a big part of your application, especially if you're going through the Common application, which is what most colleges use. They use that, the personal essay. And I think the main tip I have for that is to start off with some character traits about yourself that you think define you and that have you have worked on developing throughout your high school experience. And using those traits, maybe just like 2, 3, or 4 traits, try to tie it together with a story or some common passion, something like that. Like I focused my essay on a passion that I used to string together all my traits and how I developed those throughout high school. So for example, one of the traits I focused on was leadership. So my freshman year, I was very shy and I didn't know how to take charge of things. But throughout my experience in robotics and becoming team leader on my team, I learned how to be more confident in my ideas, and I was able to portray that in my personal essay, which I think really helped colleges to know that what my personality is like, which is what your personal essay is really about. It's not really a place to brag about the many achievements that you have. That's what activities is for. So I think focusing on yourself, your self-improvement, and what makes you unique is what colleges would like to see in your personal essay. And speaking on activities, I think it's really important to do research. And there's some great videos on YouTube on how to write your activities well and to really make use of those characters. So I really encourage people to do some Googling, go on YouTube and figure out how to word your activities the best way you can. And especially if you have a certain passion, like I really like hands-on things, you should really research the opportunities that colleges give you to express those passions. Like there's a few schools that allow you to have portfolios, whether that's in music, art, or in my case, maker portfolios, where I could display my many projects. I think that really helped colleges see how truly passionate I was about things, which is what eventually makes somebody successful, right? Like getting a 1600 SAT or doing this many APs isn't going to guarantee you to be rich and successful in the future, which is what colleges want. They want to recruit people who will become successful in the future. So they look for the traits that make someone successful, like passion and being hardworking and leadership and stuff like that. So really just, I guess to conclude, just focus on yourself, focus on what makes you you, and focus on what you're passionate about, and colleges will see that and everything else will settle in place.
Great sharing, Jacqueline. So I learned that the passion, right? Do what you do, and also you grew up, through your passion. So what you love, and you people can see your trait of the grow up and the leadership. Okay, thank you very much, Jacqueline. And the next speaker I'm going to introduce is another outstanding lady, Jiahe Li. So she graduated from the Winston Children also, and ED accept to Harvard University. She's a good friend of the Jacqueline also, and he could a lot great volunteers in both Japanese and the Korean world language and arts. And let's welcome Jiahe to share with us.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. I'm not Chinese, I'm Korean, but I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to speak about my experience. So kind of different from what Catherine and Hongjing were doing, I'll be focusing more on the college application process itself. So this, my speech is more geared towards rising seniors and people who are going into the college application process. And I'll be speaking pretty quickly, so please let me know later if you have any questions. So for the college application process, I came up with 5 main tips. And so my first tip is to apply as early as possible to your schools. My second tip is to craft a story, like Catherine said, in your personal statement and throughout your application. My third tip is to choose your major wisely when you apply. My fourth tip is to have a supplemental recommendation along with your teacher recommendations. And my fifth tip is to use the additional information box in the Common App. So going into my first tip is to apply early. So as my slide says, I was accepted REA into Harvard University. So REA is restrictive early action, which is one of the many different types of acceptance plans that you can choose for your college. So REA means that you can only apply to one private school, but you can apply to as many public schools as you want. And with restrictive early action, you don't have to commit to the school that was your first choice. So even if I had gotten in, I could choose to go somewhere else. as opposed to ED, which is for schools like Cornell, like Hong Jing is going to. That is early decision. So if you commit there, then you cannot choose a different school if you get in. And then otherwise there's EA, which is early action. And EA is early action. So you get your decision back earlier, but you have to apply earlier. And then regular decision, where you apply in the winter, so in January, and you get your decision back later. So my tip is to apply EA, so early action, to all of your public schools. And if you have a top choice college, to apply ED or REA. So no college will have both plans, it's one or the other. And so you will have to decide maybe if you have a top choice school. And that really helps with your application, because usually schools will favor the people that apply the earliest to their institution because they know that you have the most interest. Second, to craft a story. So as Catherine said, she used a lot of her passion and a lot of themes like leadership in her common application. And I think what's most important is to stand out. So as they've said earlier, colleges are like corporations. They don't want to have each employee or each student be the exact same. And when you are at this like high caliber of academic achievement, then what you were really looking for is someone who stands out and someone who is different from their peers. So when you are writing your personal statement, you want to highlight a spike, something that makes you stand out, something that makes you unique. For me, it was language. So for example, I speak many languages, so I highlighted that in my application. And every time I wrote an essay, I would call back to my themes that I included of language and culture in every single essay. And that really ties the application together. So when someone is reading it, it is very clear and it leaves an impression. So after someone reads your application, you want them to be able to summarize your application in 2 or 3 keywords. So for mine, it would have been language, culture, leadership, and something like that. You don't want to really blend into everyone else who is on the stack of applications. My third tip is to choose your intended major wisely. So a lot of times we want to apply with the intended major that we think will make us the most money. For example, right now, computer science is very popular. However, you don't necessarily have to do that, because once you are accepted into a college, usually you can change your major or you can switch. So unless you are being accepted into a very specific program, you want your intended major to align with your story or what you have been interested in over the past 4 years. So for example, I have a friend who participated a lot in journalism. He was very involved. He liked writing in his free time. He applied as an English major to Johns Hopkins University, but he then switched to pre-med after he got into the university. So that is also something to consider. If your activities that you have done throughout high school align with a particular theme, but you don't say that you're going to study that, it kind of has an imbalance. So it is good to kind of align everything to one interest in your application, even if you don't plan on studying it in the future. So that is something to think about. My fourth tip is to have a supplemental recommendation. So when you are applying to college, you usually have 2 teacher recommendations and a counselor recommendation for college. But for all the schools, you can also submit a supplemental recommendation. And this is really good because that means that you can have an adult in your life write a recommendation about you who is not involved in your academics necessarily. So if you did research and you have a professor or a mentor that knows you well, or if you have a coach, a pastor, a teacher outside of school that knows you very well, more than your teachers in school, you would want them to write an application, a recommendation for you and submit it to the college. And that very well. And then for my 5th tip is to use the additional information box. So in the common application, you have a box to write your personal statement, which goes to every single college. And underneath that box, there is a box for if you have any additional information, please write it here. So like Catherine was saying, you can use this box to submit any crafts that you might have made, any projects you might have worked on, any art portfolios outside of the art portfolios that you might have submitted. You can submit extra information about any tests you took, any awards you got, or any other activities that did not fit within the list of 10 activities in your Common App. And so a lot of people ignore this box, but I think it's very important and you should use it to the best of your ability so then you can really stand out, as I had said before. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Jae-hye. The tips are very practical and useful, and I will definitely save it for my son so he can use it in 5 years.
Oh, wait, I forgot. I made a college application guide that I can send in the chat as well. It's a Google Doc, so I can put that later. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. The next speaker we have is Jessica Luo. Jessica is graduating from Loomis Chaffee High School with this wonderful background music. Yes, Jessica is graduating from Loomis Chaffee High School and accepted to UPenn. And Jessica's background is a little different from the rest of the speakers because her high school is a private boarding school. So if any of the audience are interested in that area, her sharing will be very helpful. Jessica will pursue bioengineering in UPenn, and she is also on the pre-med track. During high school years, Jessica excelled in both academics and extracurriculum activities. She participated in a lot of activities that showcasing her balance in intellectual work and the leadership skills as well. Jessica, please start when you are ready.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today and taking time out of your day just to hear us speak. And I just wanted to introduce myself as kind of, you saw the slide of everything that I did in my high school career, but just essentially my high school career in the eyes of me as a person. So initially, I'm actually from the Northern Delaware region, which is pretty close to the greater DC area. We're about like 6 hours away from DC. So I'm pretty close to you guys there. But growing up in Delaware, it was a pretty different experience from when I decided to apply to boarding schools during the summer of 7th grade, leading up into 8th grade, my last year of middle school. And initially, I can definitely go into this more in depth during the Q&A session, but my initial reason for applying to boarding school was one, for a better education. They offered classes that weren't even available in local high schools where I'm from, as well as the independence of living alone for the first time, which was something I've never experienced before. And ultimately, a big part of the reason that I did decide to apply was also because of the benefits that I thought boarding school gave, especially in the college admissions process, which was something that I found myself incredibly concerned about when I was younger, especially in my middle school days, where not all I would do every day, but I would spend a good amount of my time watching those like college acceptance reaction videos during the fall when the decisions came out, during winter when the decisions came out. And I was really hyper focused on getting into a top Ivy League school or any of these top 20 schools that we think of when we think of a good education in America. But throughout my high school process, as I kind of matured more as a person, I realized, as what you've heard time and time again from our speakers here today, that college and the entire concept of universities themselves is essentially, it runs very much like a business. And I moved away more from focusing on external goals like college, more into internal goals on what I could do myself that would really lead me toward my dreams. And this is where I'd like to talk a little bit about my application. So essentially, the main points that I'd like to highlight that I really thought were the key points of my application that were even mentioned in my admission letter that my admission officer sent to me after the early decision cycle where I was admitted to Penn. One was my Common App essay actually that he highlighted. And especially for Common App essays, we hear a lot of tips about how to write them, what you should include, and definitely the speakers here have given great advice on finding a common theme and thread among your essays, how to write it well. But one thing I'd like to note too is the importance of creativity and essentially what I learned from my liberal arts education at school, which we hear this term liberal arts thrown around a lot in terms of American education. And even now, I'm not 100% sure what I means, but I definitely have more of an idea about what it means than when I started high school. So a lot of these schools, even top colleges now, like Amherst, Williams, are marketed as these liberal arts colleges, which essentially is providing you a really holistic education where you get to learn a lot about English, history, STEM, humanities, and just everything. So you have a really well-rounded education. And essentially the impact of this on me is, since my high school was essentially a liberal arts education, was, as you can see through my extracurriculars, it made me a really well-rounded person as a whole, especially for applying to colleges. And this essentially changed my mindset when approaching my Common App essay, given that I had a lot of research experience with biomedical engineering before for all my previous summers, but I didn't want to write exclusively about biomedical engineering. So I actually chose a bit of an uncommon topic, which was unicorns, to write about, and how that acted as the central theme that was essentially connecting all my extracurriculars that I'd done that were as far-fetched as being the editor of a STEM magazine to even writing for my school newspaper in the Melange, which is essentially the comedy section, and doing things even as like learning to skateboard by myself during the summer when I was bored. So kind of the importance of maintaining this sense of like learning mindset essentially was something I believe is incredibly useful, especially in the college application process, where we kind of see college as this final step, this one goal to reach, and then everything in our lives will be good. But if we really adopt this like learning mindset to our lives, it really helps us move past this and see kind of the bigger picture of things of where do we want to go after college. And I think honestly, that's one of the most important parts that kept me honestly sane throughout the entire college admissions process. So I guess that's my biggest piece of advice. Just to keep on maintaining the childhood sense of wonder and really adopt a growth mindset throughout all of this, because college is not the final step. There's a lot more to come.
Thank you, Jessica. That's great experience, great sharing. And you have a unique experience from the boarding school, and also you have the same as the other outstanding guests. You have the passion, and also treat the college application as a part of the big milestone, and you look beyond that. Thank you very much. And for the audience, if anybody have the interest in terms of the how boarding school impact the kids' education, and who can bring up questions, and I think Jessica will be happy to answer the related questions. Thank you, Jessica. And let me bring up our next speakers. And outstanding young man, who is Nathan Bay. He come from Attic City, Maryland, and graduated from Marriott Rich High School. He has been accepted to the Johns Hopkins and Carnegie Mellon. I think he's going to the Johns Hopkins, and he will have great tips to share with us. And let's welcome Ethan.
Hi, I'm Ethan. I'm really grateful to be invited to speak here, give my own tips on the whole college application process. So one thing I really realized in this cycle this year is that what colleges look for is students who have a story they can build, a cohesive story about something they're passionate about. So for me, ever since I got into high school, started high school, I knew I loved science, STEM, math. So I searched for experiences such as competitions or internships or summer camps or anything related to that. But the main goal of this for me at the time was not for college. It's because I was interested in these things. So if you're hobbies, I guess, are like educational or academic, it will really benefit your whole chances of getting into a top 20 college or top college if that's your goal. Another thing that I realized is that the friends or the people you surround yourself with really do play a role in how successful you'll ultimately be in your college decisions. So for me, like for many of my extracurriculars I pursued, my friends were like along with me and were like, yeah, they like helped me achieve like the extracurriculars I wanted to do. So for example, for HOSA, we like worked together to make our project and win nationals. And also your social skills matter because obviously you need letters of recommendations. So make sure you build good ties with your teachers. And also what they write in the letters, they have to build a story too. So it's important that your personality that you portray in your own application resonates with what your teachers see in you, what your friends see in you. For the Common App essay, which is like the biggest part of your college essays, is my recommendation is as you like go through life in your senior year or your junior year, really try to focus on anything around you that you value or you think shows something about your life. So for example, if you notice that you have a hobby like pottery, for example, or playing basketball or anything, that could be a very valid college essay topic. Like for me, I was sitting in class one day and then I was struggling like my physics lessons. And I pretty much wrote my essay about like a conversation with my friend about this like a very difficult physics problem. And I like tied that in with how I'm like a persevering student. So yeah, like everyone said so far, colleges are like companies. They want to see students that can portray themselves as someone who can be successful. And the biggest way to do that is to form like a story that the admission officers can like follow and read and see that you're like suitable for their college. That's it.
Well, thank you, Ethan. Thank you for the advice in making good friends and work on the social skills. I think both the students and adults all need this advice. We all need to work on that as well. And wish you continued success as you move forward to Johns Hopkins. Last but not least, we have Linda Huang, who is also accepted to Johns Hopkins and will be studying biomedical engineering there. Through her years at Blair High School in Maryland, Linda has demonstrated her passion in STEM by actively engaging in various activities. She is a vital member and the leader to the school's Science Olympia and Physics team. And she's also a national gold medalist at Science Olympia. Jessica is also a talented young musician at Maryland. Linda, please.
Hi everyone, my name's Linda, and yeah, I graduated from the Montgomery Blair Magnet program, and I'm going to be focusing more on my high school experience and what to do throughout high school, since a lot of people already talked about their college application advice. So first, it's okay to not know what you want to do yet, because you know, when you go into school every year, your school might always have like a club fair, and I really encourage you to go to those club fairs, because you never know what your experience is going to be like after joining some of the clubs for the first time. So when I was in my freshman year, it was like virtual, but I did join 2 business clubs, and I thought I was going to go into business. But in my second year, I joined more clubs that was available since it was in person, and it really kind of sparked my interest in science and engineering through like Science Olympiad and physics team. And second, don't be afraid to ask your teachers for help for any of your classes or any of your life problems. They are your trusted adults for a reason. You can find 1 or 2 teachers that really resonate with you, and not just talk about academics, but also sort of help each other, like build a bond with a teacher and make them actually know you personally, because your teachers want to see you to succeed. So don't hesitate to reach out when you need guidance or support. And that will also help you with the recommendations when you show your true self to your teachers instead of being just a student in the class. And also don't forget to take risks when you can, because there's a lot of opportunities out there. Sometimes social media is very good at these kind of opportunities, because a lot of the opportunities I got are from social media, and many of the online friends I made have shared great opportunities with me as well. So if you use social media wisely, it can be a powerful tool for networking and discovering new interests. Just, yeah, be careful online as well. And remember that you're not alone, because you have your family and your friends who support you. And yeah, it's okay to be a little confused at first, because so I did a paid summer program before my junior year. And the reason I joined the program was because my friend was applying and I thought it would be really fun to room with them for a summer. But somehow that program actually sparked my interest in biomedical engineering because it was on the Johns Hopkins campus. And that's how I decided my early school super early during the high school career. So know that your journey is uniquely yours, but you have friends, family, and teachers who are there to support you. Even during the college application process, I went to my teachers for editing. I went to my counselor for editing as well. So there's a lot of people who are helping you out there, and you're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you for your great sharing. I know you're not feeling very well today, and you kind of very appreciate you stay on the line and share the great tips to us, and hopefully you get a good recovery soon. And thank you very much for all the panels, great speakers, very inspiring for all the kids. Now we have a very great opportunities to start the Q&A section. So with all this extraordinary, excellent speakers, now you talk about the high school experience, and now they are in the panel. Okay, they will share with us. You can ask us for any questions you may have. So now let me bring two your fellow students as a host to start to host the this Q&A section. They are the Joseph and the Jennifer, and let me bring them, and we'll start a Q&A session soon. If you have any questions, please type your questions in the chat.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank everyone for sharing their story. It has been I'm sure it has been really helpful to the audience. So I want to first start off asking some questions regarding time management. So currently a lot of high schoolers are struggling with time management. Either they like spend too much time doing the homework, spend too less time on doing the homework, to spend too many times on doing their extracurriculars. So the question I want to ask is, can you describe your study routine and how do you overall manage your time? So does anyone want to answer that question?
I guess I can, oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Anyone else want to, I guess I can go first if any of you guys want to hop in anytime, feel free to. But I guess for me, I realized actually I don't want to say mistake during my high school career, but one thing I definitely looking back on wish I did less of was my extracurriculars, because I realized I was doing so much to the point of I wasn't even putting a lot of this like clubs and things that I did on my Common App and my actual college application. Since a lot of the extracurriculars that I did, it was like little bits and pieces of my time throughout my entire week that were being taken up by extracurriculars. And sometimes my like grades sacrificed as a result of that. but I feel like there's a very fine balance between picking hard classes or like academically rigorous classes, whatever colleges want you to take, and also taking classes that you're interested in and really pique your interest. So it won't seem like purely studying or work when you're doing homework for the class, but actually something that you feel interested in and devoted to. And I feel like that's definitely something to talk about with your teachers when you're planning forward during the summer for the next school year. And also, essentially, just like looking at your high school career too, it's never, I know leadership positions sometimes can seem like you're collecting like infinity stones if you've ever seen like Marvel Avengers stuff, I don't know. But essentially, it's sometimes not really a big loss if you don't get one particular leadership position that you're really aiming for, because clubs and extracurriculars, when they build up, especially in your junior or senior year, take up lots and lots of time. So I just make sure to just plan out your year strategically beforehand.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else have anything to add? Okay, cool. We can move on to the next question.
So I saw that there's someone asking questions in the chat. So is high school life very busy, and what is your daily schedule? Anyone want to share something? So how about Jaehee? Would you like to share something with us?
Sure. I would say that my high school experience, or at least my senior year, was very busy. And one thing that helps me to kind of be able to do all the extracurriculars I wanted was to have staggered extracurriculars that changed by the season. So, for example, some sports are spring sports, winter sports, fall sports. And I didn't do a school sport in school, but sometimes the extracurriculars that I would do, they would run from, let's say, October to February, or they would run from November to January, and really picking up those kinds of extracurriculars that weren't the entire year, but still gave me a wealth of experience, were really helpful in being able to do everything that I wanted without over stressing and having so many things to do at one singular month in my life. Also, I would recommend taking your most rigorous classes in junior year and kind of letting a little loose a bit in senior year, because your junior year grades are more important in a way than your senior year grades. Of course, your senior year grades are very important, and the classes that you take will be sent to your colleges. However, I took too many rigorous classes in senior year, and I really felt myself struggling to achieve the grades that I wanted when I was studying so many hours every night. Yeah. And if anyone else would like to add.
So awesome. Thank you very much. And we can move to the next question.
Yes, I see someone in the chat asking about the topic of being the speakers being like musicians and stuff. So I know that Linda is an MCYO member, and the question said, was the decision of learning an instrument made by yourself or your parents? And how was the music-related experience impact your college application and your life? So Linda, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. So I started studying violin in elementary school. It was my mom's decision because I have no idea what I wanted to do, but it actually slowly transformed to become one of my passions. Throughout all 4 years of high school, I joined orchestra to keep this consistency and because I really love orchestra in school and outside of school. And I also joined a quartet that my private teacher made, and I really had fun making music with them. And I did write about some of my music experiences in my college application because it was like a large part of my life, and I just really enjoyed making music with them because one thing is about making good music, but another thing is about connecting with all the people that I'm playing music with. And I do intend on keep doing music in college. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Is there any other musicians that want to share their story? Okay, cool. We can move on.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add
sorry.
on
Yeah,
to that.
yeah.
I can personally speak from my point of view too, and I was mostly in band because I play the flute. But I was able to get some really great experiences out of music, and I'd say it's not one of the main points of my college application, but it was more of something that I did throughout high school to really keep me sane. And it gave me just a really great community of so many friends that really, even aside from the whole college experience, I honestly think some of my friends from music are gonna be like my lifelong friends because I'll definitely want to keep in touch with them. And it's just speaking from the band point of view, from the musical community, is that there's a lot of great people in there that are super genuine. A lot of them are actually really passionate and really talented musicians too. So it's a really great learning experience too to sometimes surround yourself with people who are a lot better than you at your instrument because it still offers like a really great learning opportunity too.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
I wasn't in marching band.
Okay.
My school unfortunately didn't offer a marching band, but we did have something called wind ensemble, and I was in the all-state bands for most of my time in high school.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, we can move on to the next question.
Okay, so there's someone asking, how do we build deeper connections with teachers and improve the relationship? So, is there anyone want to share? Yeah, please.
So I think it's really important not only to pay attention in class, that's to build like a good first impression and last impression. And on top of that, I feel like sometimes, although it may sound a little bit cringe, you have to go in and talk to the teachers during outside of class, either if it's about like common hobbies or just, anything. We're about getting help. And you don't want to just ask about anything. You want to ask insightful questions to appear to show the teacher that you are very interested in the subject, if you actually are. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
So, Catherine, please.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with everything Honjin said, and also just to the question before that, asking about how to connect with teachers, even if you don't have much connection with them already, because you're already just like getting good grades without needing much teacher interaction. I think I could sort of relate to that. I feel like usually in classes I'm less interactive and I don't have as many like personal connections with teachers, and I also don't really have a super, I guess, outgoing, like talk to teachers after class, all that kind of personality. And I think that's fine. You can still use that sort of to your advantage in showing like especially if you're passionate about a certain subject, to really show that passion and be willing to learn and just be an attentive student in class. And I think teachers can tell whether students are genuinely interested about the topic, and they can tell if students are just, very intelligent and very good at the things they do and succeed well. So I think if you can show that off to teachers in like a not as much in like a bragging way, but in more of like a I'm genuinely curious to learn and I'm able to succeed at the things I put my head to, and if they can see that, they can kind of reflect that in your recommendation letter.
Thank you very much, Catherine. So, Jihee, do you want to say something, or I think I saw that you raised the hand. Yeah, please.
I wanted to add for teacher recommendations specifically, you don't necessarily have to ask the teachers who are from your area of interest. For example, if you are trying to get into science, you don't necessarily have to have a teacher recommendation who is a science teacher. You want to ask the teachers that know you best personally, because most of the time your academic achievements are already shown in the rest of your application. What teacher recommendations are really for is to show who you are as a person, to show your character. So I would not shy away from asking teachers who might not teach the subject that you're interested in, but who know you very well, or who you talk to about like your life outside of academics as well.
Thank you for sharing. So we can move on to next question.
Yeah. So I see someone in the chat asking about the topic of like leadership skills. So I know Catherine earlier talked about like her earlier doesn't necessarily want to be, doesn't like have said leadership skills, but later on develop her leadership skills. So I want to ask, does any other one, do you guys have any moment of hesitation in building your leadership skills, and how do you overcome them? So or like how do you like basically like use your leadership skills to further your like further develop your college career?
I can speak a little bit on this first. Just of how I built my leadership skills. I think the question was asking exactly like what kind of opportunities give you leadership opportunities. And I really think anywhere can give you leadership opportunities, whether that's like school affiliated clubs, that's like competitions, there's team competitions outside of school. There's sports, there's music. I think so many extracurriculars students do, you're able to rise to a leadership position, and just focusing on finding extracurriculars where you're interacting with other people. For me, it was a robotics team, so a team of other people, and I was really passionate about it, and that kind of just led me to get really into it. And naturally, I just slowly became like, I guess, more knowledgeable on the matter. And as new students were joining in, I tended to teach them and just kind of develop my leadership skills that way. So I think just whatever a student is curious in and passionate about, they can find leadership in that.
Thank you so much for sharing. Does anyone else have anything to add? Okay, cool. Also, before we move on, yeah, thank you guys for answering some questions in the chat. Like it saves time for like us. So thank you so much. Yeah, okay, we can move on to the next question.
Okay, so someone asking, how did you explore and select college major? So I think this question is like how to find the major that is suitable and interesting to you. So is there anyone want to share?
I can share. So I think I was noticing a lot of us are going into biomedical engineering. And I have kind of a different major. I'm going into linguistics and computer science. So from like a humanities major perspective, I believe that since you're only 17, 18 when you're applying to college, you don't necessarily have to have everything figured out by the time that you send in your application. So there's always chance that you can switch your major when you go into college. So if you have a strong interest, like you want to be a doctor or you want to do engineering, that is great and you should choose that major. But if you are still unsure, you can apply undecided when you are applying to colleges. That shows colleges that you are not sure which major that you want to apply to. But me personally, I would suggest choosing a major that aligns most with the activities that you've done throughout high school. So if you think that there is a major that kind of encompasses what things that you are most interested in, or something that connects all the activities that you've done. So for example, I did a lot of totally different activities. I did choir, I did horseback riding, I did teaching, but a lot of them had to do with communication. A lot of them had to do with language barriers or communication barriers. So when talking about why I was interested in the activities I did, it was really helpful to link it to this idea that linked to a major. So again, with my example of my friend, if you have interests that align with English, choose English as your intended major. If you change your mind later, that is okay. And you can always change it. But for the college application, you kind of want it to be very cohesive. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. So is there anyone want to add something? If not, we can move on to the next question.
Yep, so someone earlier asked, could anyone provide information on engaging in valuable STEM competitions suitable for middle school and elementary school students? I know Jessica already answered in the chat. And also this might be a little bit difficult to answer because it's concerning middle school and elementary school students. So does anyone have an answer to that?
I have a little bit to talk about. The robotics competition I do is called the First Tech Challenge, and that's meant for high schoolers and I think 8th graders as well. But kind of like their sister competition, they have 2 other programs, the First Lego League, which is meant for elementary school and middle schoolers. And I think that's a great starting point for people, students that are interested in STEM, especially either computer science, coding, or engineering of any other sorts. It's a great starting point that can either lead them to join other teams when they're in high school, like the First Tech Challenge, or they have a third competition called the First Robotics Competition, which is you build like much bigger robots. But either way, I think the First Lego League is a great place to start for students interested in engineering and robotics.
Cool, thank you so much. Does anyone else have anything to add? Cool, we can move on.
So as we all know, AP courses is the important standard to apply for university. So how many AP courses do you think are needed to apply for a good university, and which courses do you think are necessary?
I can answer this one. So I think the colleges measure your rigorousness, your course rigorousness based on the proportion of APs that your school offer and how much you take. And I think this is different for many magnet schools. But for my school, we offer a lot of APs, and usually people who get into really good colleges take around 15 or 16. And most of them are focused around their interests. For example, if you're interested in engineering, you take physics C or AP chemistry or stuff like that. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
And I forgot to mention, AP credits
yes.
are mostly for a lot of them, like the scores for AP credits for the APs, they are more helpful in getting the credit from the school than actually in your application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone want to add something? So if not, we can move to next question.
Okay, so someone asked in the chat, they asked how important are awards and competition for the application? So does anyone have any like competition they've attended and awards they've gotten, and like how important are they to your competition? Does anyone want to share?
I can talk about that.
Alright.
So, like compared to some of my other classmates, I don't really have that many awards. Like I had the HOSA award, and I had this random like British Biology Olympiad award that I decided to do like last minute, and I didn't even get like a gold medal in it. I think what awards really show is that you're interested in what you're applying as. Obviously, it will help if you place well or if you have a lot of awards, but at the end of the day, like if you just try to compete in a couple competitions, it will do you well in your college applications, and you probably still get into your colleges you want to get into. So that's what I wanted to say about my experience.
Thank you. Catherine, do you want something?
Yeah, I completely agree with Ethan. I don't think like having just like a bunch of awards is what lets you get into a good college. But I definitely think, especially if you have a major extracurricular that you're spending a lot of time on, if they offer competitions that allow you to get awards, I think that's definitely helpful because in your activities, you can kind of put those awards into numbers and say you're like the top blah, blah, blah percent because you got that award. And you're like, whatever, you fundraise, blah, blah, blah. Like just numbers in activities of the college application is very important because it's just a really quick way for the admission officers to see what level you are in that extracurricular just by kind of numbers. And it's a really concise way to show your contributions in the limited amount of characters you have.
I wanted to add something. I personally did not have any competitions under my belt. What I instead had was language certificates. So when you're applying for college in your Common App, there's a section called Honors and Awards. And so you might want to stretch the definition of honors. So I put all of my language certifications in that section. And I think since I applied as a linguistics major, that really helped me. So I had no awards that had to do with competitions in there, but I don't think that necessarily is the key to getting it.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for sharing. We can move on to the next question.
Yeah, someone's asking, anyone take IB classes, and what is advantage of IB versus AP? So is there anyone take IB classes here?
Okay, if not, yeah, skip these questions. Yeah.
So since the summer holiday is coming, are there any activities you would recommend doing during the summer holiday?
I could get us started. I think a lot of summer program application deadlines may have already passed for this summer. So I think if you're still looking into it now, it might be nice to just cold email some professors if you're interested in research. I think just reaching out to professors nearby at like UMD or George Mason or UVA colleges nearby, you might be able to get research opportunities now, which will help you really stand out for colleges because you can, based off those research, develop something that you can talk about, or you can just find new passions if you're and like figure out if what you think is your, I guess your field, your path is right for you. And also it just shows that you have that initiative to reach out to other professors.
Yeah, and just adding to that, another thing I would definitely recommend for summer, especially this is applicable for like a wide range of ages. It really doesn't, well, some of them have cutoffs, but I know it's pretty like overdone and popular, but volunteering is honestly a really great experience for most people if you're not just doing it purely for like the volunteer hours or the certificate to say, oh, I did this many hours of volunteering. Because honestly, some experiences are really like eye-opening to really see like a whole different perspective, and experiences like that essentially are pretty impactful in the whole college application process too, because they change how you like look at the world. And ultimately colleges too also want, like when they say well-rounded in like applicants, it's also not purely in terms of academics, but also in terms of like your life experiences and how you see the world. So I recommend volunteering. And like, I know for me, I did a lot of work in the food bank when I was back in Delaware, but I know there's really great opportunities too to even be creative and start your own initiatives, which is honestly something really great and an entire like experience within itself.
Thank you all for sharing. So we can move on to the next question.
Yep. So someone in the chat, I know we touched upon this before, but someone in the chat specifically asked how many clubs did everyone join each year on average? Is consistency important? So does anyone want to share the club they're a part of that they're a part in, or any like clubs they started maybe?
I can share my clubs. I joined a physics club where I made my little motor, my own little motor. But about the topic about clubs, it's not about how much you're joining or the leadership opportunity, like the leadership positions that you're getting. I joined some clubs and I didn't even list them in my common apps. I was the president. I founded a club, nutrition club, but because it wasn't completely unrelated to my application as a whole, I did not even include it in any of my common app anything. So I want to say that it's not about volume, it's more about quality, and that the clubs that you join, the top clubs that you talk about should be part of a big picture, a big story that you want to portray. And it should be something that fits right into your application.
Yep, thank you. And one more thing, someone just asked like, how do you reach leadership positions in clubs? I know like it varies, but like it varies like between each club. So did anyone like reach any leadership in clubs and tell us like your journey in the club to like reach the leadership position?
I mean, if you want to be like a good leadership position in a club, you have to be like an active member of it, and you should be in it for like a while. For many of the clubs at my school, like the students pretty much vote on like who the next leader should be. So make sure like you become friends with like everyone in the club to increase like your chance of getting voted as, like vice president, president, treasurer, anything. But yeah, you should have good reasons for people to vote you, and you should get the leadership positions you want.
Well, thank you.
Oh, I'd like to add on to that too. My school did things a bit different in that we had a lot of applications for leadership where it was kind of these upperclassmen were reviewing, or like people in the years above you were reviewing your application and like essays to apply for certain leadership positions. But I just say that usually leadership positions aren't something that you like directly set your goals on. They usually come pretty naturally, in that if you are genuinely interested in a club, you invest your time in it just because you're like interested in what the club does. You usually have a leadership position that results from it. Because sometimes like I know some people who try sometimes a bit too hard for a certain leadership position and don't get it in the club. They sometimes like cut off ties entirely with that club and end up like dropping it completely. So that honestly is a bit like superficial sometimes. So I wouldn't recommend that.
Cool. Thank you everyone for answering. We can move on to the next question.
Yeah, someone's asking how do you select priority and prepare well for the AP courses in 4 years of high school? So is there anyone want to share?
So I'm not too sure if the person asking the question is asking like how you select priority to which APs you should take, or
It's like asking how do you select priority and prepare well for the AP courses?
yeah. So I think if you're trying to decide between which APs to take, I think it's really important to choose APs that you think you'd be more interested in, because I think interest will really get you a long way through especially really difficult courses. Like, those late night studying, if it's something you really do not care about, it's going to be a lot harder than if it's something you do actually enjoy learning about. And sorry, I just need to see the question again. Yeah, so I guess how to prepare well. It really depends. My school is very good at preparing us for APs because they really shape how they teach the curriculum around the AP curriculum itself. But self-learning wise, I think it's wise to, start looking at AP questions early. So I think something I'm really glad my teachers did is they shaped a lot of their quizzes and tests with previous AP questions. And that really helped all the students get comfortable with the format of APs because in the end, it is a standardized test. So just looking at how the questions are worded and what they look for, you can find a pattern and that helps be successful in the test itself.
Thank you for sharing. So we can move on to next question.
Oh yeah, cool. So someone asked a depressing question. So many of these Ivy schools, such as Cornell, for example, have a back stigma for mental health and high suicide rates. How do you avoid becoming one of these statistics? So I shouldn't laugh at this, but hey, Alex, you got this. We believe in you. You can do this. But so basically, I just want to ask does anyone have any basically like tips for like I guess the question is basically asking like how to like reduce stress while learning because like I'm pretty sure everyone here have like are pretty busy. So basically, do you guys have any tips in like alleviating stress that you guys want to share?
I think this person name dropped my college. I'll tell you in a couple years how it is over there. And I think the big part is you gotta have a dynamic life, a lot of exercising, and surround yourself with people, positive and supportive people. And I'm sure you'll be fine.
Honestly, I feel like this question might be getting at something deeper. And this was actually something that the Pan Asian Student Club at my school talked about a lot last year, which was like mental health in the Asian American community. And that a lot of times, like mental health concerns like depression and anxiety go unaddressed in our families and our communities. And sometimes just know that it's okay to reach out for help. There are very like extremely good support networks in place at colleges now, where the counseling office, they always have doors open to hear whatever issues you might be having at school. So I know if you ask any tour guide about it, they will be able to like 100% address these concerns too, because yes, studying at these highly prestigious universities, everyone gets imposter syndrome. Everyone like is pretending they're okay when they're really not. But just know that you do have parents who love you. You have 100 friends. You have a lot of friends who are rooting for you. And yeah, we're rooting for you too.
Yeah, I think what Jessica said is really important, especially in I think our community, the college the college focus in academics is very, very heavy and puts a lot of pressure on kids. And I think it's important to just know that in the end, like I know a lot of us are maybe grown up thinking that like what college you get into is like end all be all, but it's really not. Like even if you don't get into a top 20, like you're gonna do really well as long as you're passionate about what you're doing. So just don't put too much pressure on yourself to get into the best college, get straight A's, all that stuff, because and then like your mental health and your physical health is always more important than what college you get into, and to just do whatever makes you happy, and those people that care about you will support you no matter what choice you make.
Cool. Thank you everyone for answering. We can move on to the next question.
Yeah, someone's asking how to improve at writing, and are there any ways to practice and gain more experience? So anyone would like to share something with us?
Guess sorry to take up too much space, but for Just from my perspective, my school was a really writing focused school, and that all 4 years they made us take various English courses. We had required like writing seminars in our sophomore year, but we also had a really strong writing department in that like our school had like teachers with PhDs, and almost all of them were in the English department. And they really were able to instill like a really great love for English for me, at least just like reading. I grew up ever since childhood as like reading all kinds of books, especially lots and lots of fiction. And I know that everyone now is like, oh, I'm reading this like productivity book about how to like learn better or things like that. But just the importance of reading for fun and also writing for fun too. That's honestly one of the best ways to improve writing, just like reading and writing. And writing for fun can be anything from like just writing poetry. I know a lot of my friends actually picked up poetry during the pandemic and are now like, I know one of my best friends who's going to Yale next year is like the youth poet laureate of like Connecticut last year. So I don't know, just like stuff like that, just to really make writing seem less of something you do and just something fun.
Thank you for sharing. So we can move on.
Yeah, also thank you, JQ, for typing entire a constitutional word like response. Thank you so much. Also, I want to ask a kind of open-ended question. Is there something you wish you had known earlier in your high school career that would like benefit you? Does anyone want to answer that? Maybe it's like an opportunity that you missed, because like I know I have like a lot of opportunities that like I have missed. So does anyone want to share?
I could talk really fast. For me, I think I just wish I got into, I guess, learning more about how colleges work and what colleges look for earlier in my process. Because, like I said during my speaker time, I really only started researching the college application like the summer before my senior year, and I was just really relying on what I've already done. Because at that point, there's really not much else you can do to add to your application. So I think it would have really helped me if I learned earlier and I was able to make more use of the resources that I had around me and done more research into the things I could have done earlier. Because I think basically everything in my college application was from like a year or two before like now. So it was really last minute crammed. All my extracurriculars and stuff like that, which I think turned out okay, luckily, but it would have definitely been easier and less stressful if I had more to choose from.
I think on that, I think on that note, visiting colleges is also very important. You don't necessarily have to visit every college that you are applying to, but kind of narrowing down which colleges you might be the most interested in, and then hitting up those very top colleges that you might be interested in, because many times, obviously, like campus life may not be the most important thing to you, but going to the actual place that you will be spending the next 4 years of your life in might be important. Maybe you step on campus and you think, oh, I don't like this. I don't think this will work for me, and that's okay. Also, kind of being able to compare different places and different people that you meet there is very important. One thing especially I wish that I would have done on my campus tours is talk to the faculty and talk to the students that are there. So I kind of learned this late, where you can go into many of the college buildings if you are on a college campus, and you can go and talk to the people who work and who study at the college. And that will give you much more depth of experience and much more depth when talking to them than you would when you talk to a college tour guide who is paid to tell you all the good things about the school. So you want to research the bad things about each school as well.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. We can move on to the next question.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the great panel questions, and for Joseph, who is I think is a coming senior, and Jennifer, who is a sophomore. So that you did a great Q&A section. Unfortunately, we're kind of running out of times. I think there's a lot of questions that are coming in. we cannot answer all of them. So I will wrap up with the last one questions, which has kind of linked between the students, the senior, and the parents. So there's one question from the chat say, have you any disagreement with your parents regarding college applications and admissions? How do you deal with them? And what's your advice for parents from your perspective? So any of you want to take it first? And this is more of open questions. So during your application, definitely the parents always try to help you. And how to deal with certain disagreement is quite sensitive. And how do you eventually, what's your wish? How really the parents can help you. And we have parents online also. And if you, as a parents, you want to provide your feedback, is also appreciated. You can directly unmute your phone and answer these questions. Let's ask our student guest who want to take these questions.
So I've heard a lot from my friends too and myself. So there have been quite a few disagreements on like how to write my essays, how to like what major should I apply to, where should I apply ED. Some of my friends are sometimes told by their parents to ED to a certain school because it's prestigious, it's an Ivy League, something like that. But I think it's just important to all the parents that a school isn't all about its name. Like there's a lot of things to consider while applying to college. And if your child has been researching into the school, researching into the major and what opportunities are there, like such as the location, other opportunities, academics, professors, they might know the school much better than you or much better than just a US News ranking. So in terms of which college to apply to, what majors to apply to, I think it's important to have a discussion with your student and make it a very like sincere discussion to kind of get rid of the bias that as like a high ranking school is the most prestigious in the major that your student wants to do in, because it honestly depends on a lot of factors. Yeah, so have a discussion is good.
A good communication channel, that's good. Anyone else want to add something? What do you wish, I want to appreciate as the parents who help you, or you wish the parents could do better in terms of from student perspective?
I know personally from like at least the Chinese social media perspective, my mom uses something called 小红书 a lot, and I know especially during the whole application cycle, there was a lot of advice going on there on your kid needs to do this, this, and this. Here's the timeline for the next like 6 months of applying to colleges. And like, here's all this advice that no one really asked for. And checking with my college counselor on this, it's just really important for even parents to be aware of misinformation that could possibly seep in there. And I know you really do want to help your kids as much as you can, but sometimes it's really important just to like take a step back and know that although we are high schoolers and we lead like really busy lives, we still have like most of the college application things under control by ourselves and don't really need any of this additional like Chinese social media tips and advice, since we've been probably hearing similar things for a lot of years.
So basically, you don't want to over advise, right? Push your additional information to you. And trust is very important, right? Trust the kids can do well. 我们在场呢有没有家长可以提供一些反馈？你觉得做的对的啊，可以让我们在座的家长也得到启发哈。如果 any of 我们的家长如果可以 unmute yourself 啊，非常 appreciate。Okay, looks like the parents is more shy than kids, huh? Okay, so okay, thank you very much. I think we're towards the end of this seminar for the forum, and let me invite each of you and just give the fellow students a one sentence. How do you feel the most important to be successful in the high school life and the optimism. Just give one sentence. We start with, I think, let's start with Hongjin first.
Yes. Can you repeat that? Sorry.
You just give one sentence to the fellow students. You to give a good piece of advice.
I think the most important thing is to not be afraid of failure.
Yeah, afraid of failure. That's great. And the next one, Catherine.
I'd just like to say that it's really important to, in this time of life, just explore your options, find what you enjoy, and just focus on doing what makes you happy, and everything else will fall in place.
Yeah, find your passion and then be happy when you grow up, right? And thank you. And let's do the Jae-hee.
I think be your best self, like showcase what makes you unique and what makes you stand out, what makes you special, some skills that only you might have, or some knowledge that only you might have to others.
Yes, thank you very much, Jae-hee. And we really special thank you for your passion to come to this forum. We used to be all the Chinese kids forum, and this is the first time as a Korean. And you might not be able to understand Chinese, but you can really have a passion to help us. Thank you very much. Hopefully the next round following will bring more this kind of diversity. Thank you. Next one, please, Jessica.
So I guess my one piece of advice would be just to stay true to yourself, your morals, and what you stand for.
Stay true to yourself. And also, special thank you for you as a friend from Delaware, not from DC, but you really help us. Thank you very much, Jessica. And this time we really have diversification, not just local, other things. And the last, Linda.
Definitely have good relationships with your friends and teachers, because like don't treat your friends as enemies that you're competing with to get into college, but actually share the opportunity with them and grow with them.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the great panels. And we're going to wrap up today's forum, and let's bring up the alumni 我们的这个大华府浙江大学校友会会长，我们李浩会长to give us a wrap up， 总结一下我们今天的讲坛。
谢谢刘斌那个常务副会长，太感谢了。Thank everyone, all the outstanding and great speakers for sharing your really interesting college application experience. And yeah, so I hope you all have a great and successful career in college and also afterward. So also I want to thank our CYOC hosts, Joseph and Jennifer. You guys did really well. So now, since most of us understand Chinese, so I'm going to switch gears to Chinese. Sorry, Jae-hee. So, yeah.
Learn a little bit Chinese.
Yeah. I know you are an expert for learning language, so now is your opportunity. So, 谢谢，特别感谢我们刘斌常务副会长，还有我们的副会长张哲对这次活动的特别仔细的精心的准备，我觉得真的是太棒了。然后还有我们的理事娄文佳理事在后面做了很多的工作，当然还有我们在中国出差旅行的我们的农艺会长，还有基金会主席吕平博士，还有我们的前会长赵军博士，都在这个台前幕后做了很多的准备工作，特别的感谢大家。这里面我也要感谢，就是说再次的用中文感谢一下我们特别优秀的小讲员，你们这里面的话真的是给大家分享了特别多珍贵的经验吧。然后还有我们华府青年 CYOC 的2位小主持人，真的我觉得你们的台风 比我这个我也不知道叫叔叔还是叫什么，要好多了，真的是比我们大人都要成熟多了，真的是台风稳健，主持的非常的棒。那么还要感谢各位观众吧，我们现在线上有100多位观众，一直从头到尾的提了非常多的问题，那我们这个这次的论坛就是说取得了很好的效果。我们这个前面我们的吕平会长还有我们的刘斌会长也提到过了，就是我们的教育论坛是从2020年8月，就是疫情之后开始的，然后在这疫情的中间，我们每一年都基本上举办1次到2次的教育论坛，得到了大家特别多的支持，所以我也希望我们的这2代还有各个，不管是你是哪个学校的，就是说是你应届毕业的高中生，都能够积极的参与到我们这个求是论坛的教育论坛系列，继续为大家提供高质量的论坛，然后分享你们的成功的经验，然后让我们校友会也能够更好的做好社区服务，所以特别的感谢大家。现在我交回给刘斌副会长，谢谢。
好，谢谢李浩会长。另外我也特别鸣谢一下我们这次对我们提供了很多帮助的大华府中科大的那个张卫会长他为我们推荐了很多这个科2代以及他的朋友Catherine Jay He and Ethan， 让我们这次更加 diversified 这个更加成功。我们这次的这个大家可以看得到6位嘉宾都很棒我们这个非常 diversified 各有特点最后我们再次感谢我们所有这个台前幕后的这次的组委这个所有的嘉宾这个无私的奉献我们昨天呢尽管很忙，还参加了这个排练。然后这个感谢李浩会长，我们吕平会长这个赵军会长的支持文佳的这个背后这个给我们做广告这个设计非常感谢各位的各位这个刚才这个所有参加的家长孩子的这个问题和积极参与我们今天的这个论坛就到此结束期待我们这个下一年我们在座的有些主持人或者有些朋友会上线参加我们的分享对所有的今天参与我们这次分享的小嘉宾大华府职当校友会都给你们一个 appreciation 的一个小礼物之后呢我们这个张哲会长会发到你们 email 做一个 gift card 送给你们再次感谢。那我们所有的讲员我们现在最后做个留影我们这个在 Room 上面大家互相所有参与者我们take a screen capture 我把大家放一下speak view 好嘞，我 take a photo 那个 sorry 我们不能 fit 所有的人 as a big picture I think Daisy and Jennifer is also on the top and let me just take a screenshot for us. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Let me just take a new one. Yeah. Okay, the 1, 2, 3. Yes. Okay, I take one picture. And I send to the WeChat.